take Copenhagen, the Copenhagen, Denmark event, Congressman. As you know, they couldn't get the treaty, so Obama and Gordon Brown say they're just going to implement it at the executive level. Is this not tyranny?
It is, and they do a lot of that, and they've been doing it for a lot of years. Executive orders, probably about 99% of those are illegal. There are some conditions where a president's allowed to issue an executive order. But you have the executive orders, you have the signing statements, and I mentioned before about how agencies of government legislate. That's unconstitutional. And it's just growing by leaps and bounds. And, excuse me, and when you think about what the CIA does and how we run our foreign policy, it's all out of control.
And it seems from studying history that that's what tyrannies do. They just get you trained to accept corruption. No one is for it, but they just do it. And the people kind of get a broken mindset or broken attitude. And I've seen polls in Europe of 76% against the naked body scanners. We have medical reports that it does bombard your body with dangerous radiation. The media blurs the images, but we've posted and gotten the real images, complete images of women's breast, genitalia, men's genitals. This is a literal recording of your naked body. England has to change their law, The Guardian reports, because it is child pornography under their laws. I mean, who would imagine Stalin putting people through naked body scanners? Congressman, can you speak to that, A, and B? Could you sponsor a bill to have Congress get control of the TSA and not let them put in these machines, and we have Chertoff making money off the company that got the government contracts? I mean, this is just incredible conflicts of interest.
We've already had a vote in the House on this to ban these scanners, and it passed in the House. So that represented what the people were saying. That was several months ago. But it's almost like this is the reaction to it. We need to prove that we need these machines, and they have this incident come up. No, I think the people back then said one thing, but now they're using the tactic. You were wondering why do the people, go along, and even though it seems like they're opposed to it, I think the reason the people finally go along, even though their numbers are against it, is because of fear. I mean, the government knows how to build up fear, fear of the financial collapse of the system. Oh, yeah, that's why we have to bail everybody out. Fear that Osama bin Laden is on the verge of having a nuclear weapon and Saddam Hussein is going to bomb Washington, D.C. It's always fear, 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 and then the people get frightened, and then they sacrifice their liberties, and it's a continuous process. So it's a hard thing to combat, but hopefully we'll be able to do it.
So carbon dioxide is going to kill us. We've got to have a world government and a world tax to save us. The swine flu is going to kill us. It's killed right around 11% so far, according to the Associated Press, what the regular seasonal flu does. But we've got to have those forced inoculations in New York and Massachusetts. That failed. It does seem that their selling of fear, though, is having less and less effect, and that people are starting to get wise to it.
Yeah, this is it, and this is the great thing that's happened, is the loss of credibility of government. And this comes along with the acknowledgement that the government is bankrupt, and that both parties are bankrupt, because governments make promises and they can't fulfill them. Even these foreign policy adventurism, that's not going to pan out either. There will be a point where you can't afford it. That's why the Soviets left. This is because we fought them. The economic system couldn't be sustained. And there's as much concern on the left as there is on the right about government and its credibility, because the people on the left say, hey, maybe my benefits aren't going to come. Is it true that Social Security is bankrupt? And where are they going to get this money for all this medical bill? Eventually they're starting to wake up, because government is losing their credibility. And I think this is very, very healthy. But our job is not just to harp on their total failure as much as to say, what are we going to do about it? Is there an answer to this? And this is where, when I talk on college campuses, they're delighted to hear that there are alternatives, there are things to do. And I am convinced in my own mind that if we had truly a free society and sound money and limited government and a sensible foreign policy, and we just got out of the way, and everybody got, lost 75% of their wealth tomorrow, but they were left alone, I I think we'd recover quicker than anybody would ever dream of. So the whole issue is how free we can be and whether we can have self-reliance and take care of ourselves and push us back to depending on local communities and family. It is so remarkable how successful that is, but unfortunately our country has lost confidence in that. But now the question is being asked, if government can't deliver, what is the option? Too often, though, they're saying, you know, the people that you fight all the time are the one world people. You know, say, oh, yes, there is a crisis, a financial crisis. That means we need a single central bank for the whole world. But the other option is maybe introducing the notion of gold and silver coinage here in the United States, like the Constitution mandates.
Congressman, a few minutes ago, you alluded to the fact that they couldn't get their multi-billion-dollar airport scanners in. People were refusing en masse. And so magically, Christmas Day, I heard on the radio about the underwear bomber. And then I talked to eyewitnesses. They didn't hear an explosion. They saw another man on board the flight. They saw a man lead the underwear bomber onto the flight in Amsterdam. They had body scanners in Amsterdam. He bypassed security. The underwear bomber's father said he was training in Yemen, but he wasn't put on the watch list. On and on and on. And you talk about letting this happen or how convenient that this came along. Even Rush Limbaugh now admits there's a global government forming, and he admits that the government wants to wreck society so that we all become dependent on them. So the good news is mainline conservatives are now finally having to admit what you've been talking about for 20, 30 years, what I've been talking about for 14 years. But can you speak to creating crises or using existing crises or letting terrorists hit us? Gulf of Tonkin was staged, never happened. 53 overthrowing Iran by funding radical Muslims to attack the government. I mean, we know who has the motive in all of this. And within minutes of the underwear bombing report Sunday, It came on Fox News Radio. I was listening with my family on Christmas, and they said, don't worry, the scanners are going in next month. I mean, you talk about perfect timing.
Yeah, and the question is whether or not government could be that inept, and sometimes I think they're quite capable of being very inept rather than just conspiracy people who have planned every single thing. But there are events that occur, and they make good use of them. But really, can they be this inept? You know, it just seems like they can't be that stupid to miss so many warning signs. And here... And I've been harping on this, is that every year we spend $75 billion on gathering intelligence to try to protect our country from being hit. Of course, they won't talk about foreign policy. Then they get this hot lead. They say, oh, yeah, we knew about that guy. We were warned about him. And it wouldn't have cost, what would have it cost? The cost of a telephone call? And say, you know, why don't you watch this guy? You know, but where does the $75 billion go to collect all this intelligence? It seems to me like we don't have very many intelligent people analyzing this unless somebody's in the business of allowing these things to go forward, which is, you know, going to be hard to prove one way or the other.
Well, my issue is this. Let's say there's real terrorists that blow up a few airlines every year. I would rather, and I've seen the polls, so would everybody else, walk right onto those planes and have the chance that that's going to happen. I mean, I get on the highway every day. That's the #1 cause of death. I take my children down the highway at 70 miles an hour with big 18-wheelers right beside me. I routinely, yesterday, drove past an overturned 18-wheeler that was a fatality. I mean, do I suddenly start chewing my fingernails and say naked body scan me? Yeah, well, record my naked children in the body scanner? I mean, it's ridiculous.
That may be logical, but it won't pass politically to take that. They would consider this that you're not really concerned. But what I do instead, even though I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, what I'm saying is that there's an alternative. I don't believe the government should be involved in giving us our privacy or, you know, our safety. And the government doesn't give us our safety in our houses or our building or our farms or, you know, our business establishment or our chemical plants. But, you know, on the airplanes, if the airlines were responsible, there is technology available now that every individual could be issued something no bigger than a cell phone, and it would be your identification badge. The airline